The Sopranos, I feel, has some of the most underrated villains in TV history, and in this video I would like to rank them from worst to best. Also, I'm only ranking the main antagonists, not the secondary villains. The last place and worst villain, that being Richie Aprile. Now, I know he is in no way a bad character. In fact, he's, in my opinion, the best season of the show, that being season 2. Richie is shown to be one of the first people to not really fear Tony in some way, even being able to threaten Christopher right in front of Tony.
Out of respect for our friend here, I'm gonna talk nice. I ever hear you raise your hands to my niece again, next time you won't see my face. You understand?
He's an interesting villain, as he's able to get quite close to Tony in some way due to him being in the relationship with Janice, in which we see he's able to get close to Tony as his real goal is to reclaim his former position as a capo. We see he's a very threatening villain as well, who unlike Tony seems much more careless and outright ruthless.
I'll step up.
And eventually, Tony does decide to whack Richie, and something else Richie does is to try and convince Junior to kill Tony, to no avail. However, eventually Richie is killed by Janice in probably one of the best death scenes in the show. Overall, a great villain who is threatening, iconic, and most importantly, hateable.
I'm in no mood for your... Ow.
Next is Phil Leotardo. Now, considering he's the final antagonist of the show, he does very well, whether it's his funny lines.
20 years in the can. I wanted manicotti. I compromised. I ate grilled cheese off the radiator instead.
His cruel nature, or the fact he is one of the first villains to really be able to actually kill Tony, even starting a gang war with him, in which he makes Tony go into hiding, even putting hits out on Tony's family, leading to Silvio in a coma, and Bobby Bacala dead. Now, what I think makes Phil a great villain, and better than Richie, is just the fact that he has much more screen time in order to be fleshed out as a character, even despite Richie being great. And next is I think what makes Phil a bit more better is the performance from the late Frank Vincent, who really makes this character probably the most memorable villain in the show.
He was a good man, wasn't he, Phil?
He was. I loved him like a brother-in-law.
Next is Tony Soprano's mother, Livia.
Well, all I know is daughters.
Now, I have already made a video on Livia, and what makes her a great villain is she's totally despicable, and probably the most evil character on the show. Her dangerousness, carelessness, her treatment of Tony.
Look who calls.
Ma! Hey, Ma!
Oh my God!
And her even planning and putting a hit out on Tony, which of course fails. However, I think one thing she has over the other villains is her manipulation. Now, the rest of the villains are quite physically strong in some way. However, Livia is not. However, she is seen to be able to plant ideas into people's heads, like AJ and R.A. Bucco.
How can I look you in the face?
Tony! What did he do now?
You don't blame him for setting the fire?
The performance from Nancy Marchand is incredible, as she's able to make one of the most detestable characters in TV history make everyone around her seem more reasonable, even Junior Soprano. And you see her influence on Tony, from her racism to her total and utter nihilistic viewpoint.
Macaroons.
Oh, they're too sweet. I wish the Lord would take me now.
Now, the only reason she isn't number one is unfortunately due to the fact we were never able to get a proper ending, as unfortunately Nancy Marchand died, which kind of made season 3's plans change, and made possibly the greatest season of TV never come to fruition. Instead, we got this.
About fucking nothing.
Now look here. I don't like that kind of talk. Now just stop it. It upsets me.
which of course was, I guess, the best they could have really done at the time. And finally, in my opinion, the best villain in The Sopranos is of course Ralphie Cifaretto. I mean, what can I say? One of the most despicable villains played by one of the best character actors around. His brutality, his love of violence, are all done brilliantly. To making him such a fantastic villain, from his murder of Tracy to his utter depravity to him possibly, if not definitely, murdering a horse just to get some insurance money, all make him a great villain. I think that because of him, he's able to elevate the seasons that he is in. Of course season 3 and of course season 4, which without him, season 4 I'm speaking about, would be almost a dull season. He's just a perfect villain from the deprived, nihilistic world of The Sopranos, and the hints that he is in fact the devil make him even more detestable.
What? You catch some shrapnel?
Now overall, these are just my rankings, and most importantly, this is just my opinion. Maybe you think I'm wrong, that's fair enough, but thanks for watching.